time frame of 1 million cups being in existence. I'm excited to be here today and finally getting back into the swing of things. I want to start out by introducing our organizers, and several of them are on the call today, and several more are not. We've got Amy, Cynthia, myself, Jeff, Josh, and Lewis, along with Celicia, Lauren, Jeremy, Mark, and Mayor Craig Morgan. So that's our organizer team. Usually at the in-person events, you'll see us with our 1 million cup shirts. Actually didn't wear mine today. I wore my No Time for Social shirt. But so if you do have any questions at all to any of the organizer team, feel free to reach out. Our sponsors, Holiday Inn, which is where we usually will take place for our event. Don Quick, appreciate Don Quick's support of the 1 million cups event. My organization, No Time for Social, we run all the social media and digital marketing for the 1 million cups Round Rock and the Round Rock Chamber. We wouldn't be here today unless the Round Rock Chamber took the lead on this event back a couple of years ago and started up this chapter of 1 million cups, which I believe now has well over 100 chapters throughout the United States. So it's an exciting event to be a part of and participate in. The normal process for 1 million cups is we have a presenter that will present for 6 minutes, and then we'll usually do 20 minutes of question and answer. So Mark Richardson is actually going to be moderating questions at all, or any comments that you want to make. Please put those in the chat, and we will address those questions as they come in, or throughout the time frame that Taffy is presenting. So without further ado, I want to jump right into it so you don't have to hear from me anymore, and I am going to turn it over to Taffy Nelson from Maternity Momentum and let her take the lead from here. Thanks, Taffy.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to the first virtual Round Rock 1 million cups. My name is Taffy Nelson. I am a doula, a maternity strategist, and a childbirth educator. I've done this for over 20 years and a couple of hundred families. What I'm doing now is I'm so excited to bring it to corporations. Because this will help corporations stop the revolving door. And sorry about that. It's supposed to help corporations stop the revolving door and give their pregnant and expectant employees a little support so they can come back to work. Because 74% of people say they want to come back to work after baby. 34% actually do. And so those are some really tough numbers to deal with. My goal is to support the pregnant people and the expectant fathers so that they can transition back to work easily. This first slide is from some local clients. I have yet to introduce this to companies. I am still working with private clients through referrals. So I'll give it to them.
Taffy was an amazing resource for us in finding the supportive experience that we needed. We were new to the area and didn't quite know what we really needed, but she certainly did, and found us an incredible midwife team and served as our magical doula who supported us the entire way. And it's an experience that we will never forget, and highly recommend her services to anyone that's having a little one and bringing them into the world.
And we really appreciate how focused Taffy remained on our needs and our specific situations. So we certainly recommend her and hope that you work with her.
So I have 3 questions I'd like you guys to consider, which is, how would you go about introducing this idea to multiple companies at once? There are companies who are using maternity concierge, and they show an increase in 24% of people coming back to work once they've been treated to a maternity concierge, which is essentially what a maternity strategist is. And would you offer this program? Does the offer of being taught to keep your expectant employees retained and focused appeal to you? And how would you structure the fee schedule? So maternity offers 4 basic things: strategies to maximize employee retention and keep them focused and reduce your attrition, strategies to develop attractive benefits packages so you don't lose your talent, because millennials are going wherever it's important to go so that they get the work-life balance. The on-site childbirth classes are just a bonus because it will teach your employees to be informed medical consumers, which then translates to them having fewer complications. So the strategies, baby boom 2020, it's coming. And I want you to help you be prepared. So keeping your pregnant employees focused on the job, they have so much else competing for their attention, right? Is the baby healthy? Is the baby going to be a boy or a girl? Do we need to move? Is the nursery big enough? Do we need to have, we can't answer all those questions, but with a one-on-one video chat, we can certainly get them the support they need to support their ideal birth. A lot of birthing parents go into it with the laissez-faire attitude of, well, we're going to do what we can, but we're always going to listen to the advice of the physicians. And while that's not a bad idea, they need to know that they can be participants. So it takes 23 minutes to refocus once they've lost focus. So do you want them focusing on things that they need to be looking for, like the right providers, the right birth venues, chiropractors, etc.? 2% of people in the United States, well, for anywhere, can multitask. It's the other 98% of us that think we can. So if you have the 2% and they can multitask working for your company, great. But if you don't, let's keep them focused. Let us do the job that we do best. Strategies to develop attractive benefits. Millennials, according to Glassdoor, 89% will go elsewhere if the benefits are not exactly what they're looking for. So they'll choose benefits over payments. One of these benefits is to have all of the research done for them. So they're handed a short list of who is best going to support the birth that they're wanting, instead of a long list of things. These are some of the resources we offer the birthing family. So are they looking for physicians, midwives, maternal fetal medicines, chiropractors, and acupuncturists to keep them comfortable, lactation consultants and birth doulas and postpartum doulas and pediatricians, birth venues, caterers, birth photographers, travel nannies for those who have to come back and then have to travel for work. Perhaps they need a travel nanny and a regular nanny. When this is all taken care of for them, they can focus on work and they can focus on bonding with their new baby when they arrive. On-site childbirth classes, the main benefit of this is that you get the benefit of sitting with your employees and you form a bond and you can use them as a support, but they also learn to be informed medical consumers who have fewer cesareans. I teach them to avoid iatrogenic interventions or hospital and physician-caused issues, which most people don't even know exist. Working from home and pumping, that's great if your employees can do that. However, if they must come to work, I will help you identify a space for a lactation station, because 90% of women who are nursing when they come back to work need to pump 2 to 3 times a day to keep their supply up and to feed their newborn. Nursing mothers and nursing babies are healthier. So when you have a healthier dyad, you have less personal time off. So your return on your investment, 24% are more likely to return to work, as I said. So the cost of losing just 25 employees with a median salary of 100, if you have a large company, the salary cost is 15% of their salary. It's going to take over 90 days to get them back into the swing of thing, because you're going to have to hire and you're going to have to advertise and you're going to have onboarding. And the individual that you just lost produced about 2 times of their salary. So the annual cost of just 25 employees is over $1 million. However, when you lose just 19 employees based on that 24%, then you're still losing $982,000, but your savings is $310,274. So I'm devoted to serving expectant families, just as I have done for over 20 years. Only now I can help them find people who are better situated to be able to support more people. And pregnancy announcements are exciting for the families, not so much for the employers. To them, it's a logistical nightmare because they know they have a greater than 60% chance of having to replace those employees. Employers lack the knowledge, so does HR, of the individual needs of the maternity process. I've been doing it for over 20 years. The 3 pricing options that I offer are $200 an hour as needed for small businesses who don't have that many employees, or annually $75,000 for 8 hours a day, once a week. You have me or my staff at your full disposal. Or for $200,000, you can have us full-time without having to pay us benefits, because we're there as consultants to support your talent and get them back to work and build loyalty. So our current challenges are getting through the gatekeepers to the decision makers. It has been suggested that I work from HR up because they're the ones who are most impacted. But then other people have said, no, you need to work from the CEOs down. Demonstrating a win-win-win proposition. It's a win for me because I help to reduce the initial C-section rate, which is my goal, and reducing attrition, which is a win for the employer, and your employees are supported. So my questions are, how would you go about introducing this idea to multiple companies at once? What are your advertising ideas? And does the offer of a free education so that you can help maintain your employees and stop that revolving door? And how would you structure your fee schedule? I so appreciate your time, and I would love to hear from you and your thoughts and ideas. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Taffy. I see that Bill has some questions. Bill, if you'll unmute yourself, I'll let you ask your questions.
Yeah, so you sort of answered it on the company size that use is usually a fit for. So I was going to ask, can it be used in any size company? But I'm guessing the hourly rate would sort of apply to smaller companies, correct?
Correct.
Okay, okay. And then for you had a slide for sort of other services that you refer to. Are you partnering with these other organizations, or are you simply just acting as a referral sort of middle person?
So I've created a database of all these other services, and I've met with these individuals, and they meet with my standards.
Okay.
There are some who are really phenomenal at their job and
Okay.
advertising their job. That doesn't mean that they're the best for the human beings.
Sure.
I'll put it that way.
Sure.
And so they didn't pass muster, and they are not
Okay.
on my list of referrals.
Okay. So it's just a referral process. You're not involved in anything other than saying, go to this chiropractor. I've vetted this person.
Right. I'm only involved if you come to me and say, look, I want a female chiropractor who is skilled in the Webster technique, which is what they use to turn babies.
Okay.
So I have a list in my database of those chiropractors that are female, that are skilled in Webster technique and by location. So I could give you a short list of theory chiropractors who fit your specific needs.
Got it. Excellent. Okay. And then my last, I may have a follow-up on the pricing model, or who to reach as far as CEOs, but I'll let others sort of chime in. My last question is, how have you researched the pricing? Like, is it competitive, and what do the other markets look like?
So I have researched it, and there are other concierges that charge roughly the same thing. It's roughly $100 an hour.
Okay.
These concierge offer everything from running errands to There's none quite as specific as mine that
Okay.
is focused just on maternity. The closest is Best Upon Request, who does have maternity services for, along with other services for companies.
Okay, excellent.
All right, thank you, Bill. So it looks like Jan's Gold Book, or Jan's maybe, hope I've pronounced that right. If you'll unmute yourself and ask your question.
I'm Jan Triplett, and the name of my computer sitting here at home at my table is called Jan's Gold Book. So that's why you see what it says. But I think that this is wonderful. I have a special friend for many years who was a doula and involved in natural birth. And I think, Taffy, it's wonderful. I wanted to know if, as you were doing this, if you had a concept of how many clients you could handle. If we are going to have a birth spurt, which I think you're absolutely right about, they might all come sort of at the same time. And do you have an infrastructure to support that? Do you have a technology that people can access besides reaching out to you? And I also think that instead of going to HR, which sounds reasonable, or to the CEO, who sounds reasonable, but may have forgotten what it's like, I think you want to go to sales, because if they lose salespeople to maternity, they are really out of luck in many ways. So I await your answers.
So in answer to your question, yes, I do have the infrastructure to support this. They will all have access to my database, they being consultants who are working for me. And then they can refer out.
So those consultants are subcontractors to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you. Jessica, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Sure. I was just curious if you talked to any HR people or CEOs about it, and kind of what their feedback had been about the idea of this kind of concierge service. And I just want to +1 the sales idea, because Kevin's going to make fun of me, but at Dell, which I'd never worked at, but all of their concierge services were set up because of their sales team. So I don't know.
Okay, so yes, unofficially, I have presented to CEOs and HR managers just at parties or gatherings or something, not specifically trying to sell my services. And every single one of them, without fail, have said, wow, everybody needs this.
Yeah.
So it's a really great idea. And someone had suggested you need to franchise. However, I've been told that perhaps it should be in a nicely wrapped package first, and I'd like to test it in the market. And actually, Dell was one of the companies I was thinking of could really benefit from essentially a maternity strategist, be it myself and or people working for me.
Yeah, they're pretty open about the fact that all the concierge services are because they don't want their sales team to ever leave the office or ever have to worry about anything.
Yeah, and that's like with the childbirth classes. Do you really want your employees sitting there trying to figure out where they're going to go for childbirth classes, or do you want to bring them to the employees where they can do lunch and learns with their significant others?
The other kind of interesting thing to consider would be that not all HR people are attuned to kind of company culture needs and things like that. A lot of them are more like protocol and procedure type of people within the company. So they may not have the kind of pull or influence. But there are a bunch of companies and consulting companies in town that do company culture consulting. You know, they're brought in as a third party to kind of say, this is what you need to make your culture better. And I would say that that would be good referral networking type marketing you could do with kind of consultant companies that work in culture, because then they would just do the introductions and it'd be very warm and they'd be pre-qualifying your contacts for you.
I didn't even think of that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Just to piggyback on that idea too, health and wellness consultants would also be, I think, similarly valuable, because they're going into with the message of how do we increase employee productivity and engagement through making sure that you have healthy employees. And this is directly in line with that.
Perfect.
All right, thank you. Bill, you want to ask your other
Yeah.
question?
And I was gonna just on what Jessica was saying as far as going after specific audiences, I would say really your best place to sort of dig into that is going to be LinkedIn. And depending on what kind of, you can make no investment in LinkedIn, or you can make an investment in LinkedIn in order to get deeper into their network. There certainly are ways through using LinkedIn and a product that they have called Sales Navigator to begin to identify audiences and either peel off those HR people if you wanted to go that route, or peel off VP of sales and maybe go that route in an initial reach out message of, are you looking to make sure that your sales team stays stable? Ooh, say that 10 times fast. So there may be some messages that you can craft that you use LinkedIn for, and then maybe looking at doing some kind of survey to some CEOs, to CEOs, salespeople, HR people, to maybe get a gauge what the audience is going to react to your service.
Okay,
So just some things to
Thank you.
think about there.
All right, does anyone else have any other questions or feedback for Taffy?
Oh, there's
All right,
a
Jan?
couple, I think.
Yeah, there's a
just
couple of
came
them. I
in.
missed one. Yeah, Catherine. Catherine, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, this is Kathy. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Something that came to thought was marketing through women tech and associations that way to catch your clients that you're targeting, and then breeding it back up into the organizations, such as Society of Women Engineers, Anita B, Women Tech, Witty, and also internal groups, women groups within the organizations. Like IBM has a large women's organization and women group in Austin.
okay.
You approached it from that direction to get the support of those future customers at all?
I have not, but I will definitely put that into the works.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Jan, you want to have your follow-up question now?
Yes, thank you so much. I agree with Catherine and with the idea about reaching out to existing companies who help put benefits packages together. I also wanted to kind of ask you a question about franchising. People think about franchising, but they forget that when you run a franchise, your job is to find franchisees, and it helps you to perhaps make more money, but it means that you are removed a lot from what you seem to love to do, Taffy. So my question to you is, what really is your passion? Is it to help the women and their partners through this experience through your direct approach, or is it to kind of spread the word and kind of create these pockets where other people can help companies in their areas?
So in answer to your question, the franchise was just something that a CEO had brought up to me and suggested that I market it that way. I'm not sold on that idea just yet. However, I like the idea of being able to spread out to 50 states and internationally. Now, COVID has taught us that we can do a lot virtually. So I personally could probably take on a couple of hundred clients just myself with a 40-hour work week and help them out virtually. So my passion is stopping some of the abuse that goes on in the birth world. That's my passion, is empowering women to have the birth that they're wanting and to know how to do so, because you don't know what you don't know, which is the biggest problem. And so many people go, well, we're not planning on this. Okay, what are you doing to not plan on it? Well, we're just hoping. You can't hope. You have to be prepared. So my job is to prepare these expectant families. That's my passion.
Taffy,
I used to work doing all the cesareans. I know that 3% are necessary. It's the other 30% that they're doing on women that are not necessary at all.
Taffy,
That's my
thank you
underlying passion.
for sharing that passion. And I would love to, the next time you present this to someone, for you to start talking about that, because it gives everybody a perspective. And business is important, but to you, balancing business and a life and this experience is critical. I don't know if you know Rima Starr. One of the things that she and I did together was to create a foundation where she taught people and licensed them to take her process and go forward. And I think that you might think about that, and also think about a retainer where you get your cash flow on a level basis, and then do a plus afterwards. That might make it easier for you too. Thank
Can
you.
I throw out a question really quick?
Sure.
I'm just wondering, somebody suggested a not to exceed. So for example, if I was working, say for Dell, a flat rate, which benefits them, but not to exceed however many expectant families.
That's
Would you
what I'd
guys-
suggest. That's what I've done before with clients. And it works. It means you have to have a really good data management and be willing to tell them when they're coming close to their limit, because nobody likes surprises.
Right. Well, I also offer metrics so that they know how much they're saving, and
Mhm.
so they know whether this is actually working.
Great.
All right, yeah. So
All right.
Catherine, you want to ask one more?
Did you say Taffy or Kathy?
Catherine, sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
Catherine DeVore, looks like you got another question.
Looks more like a
Or
statement.
just a
Yeah,
comment. Okay, all right. All right, does
Yeah.
anyone else have any
Okay.
other questions? All right, well, if not,
Great.
then Bill, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere, everyone. I'm about to share my screen again and just make a quick introduction here. We're going to move into the second half of 1 Million Cups, so it's sort of a mini double shot here. We have a special guest today, and he's been on the whole time, Kevin Ring from Hot Dog Marketing. Kevin is the director of strategy with Hot Dog Marketing, and I had the pleasure of spending some time with him at one of the recent entrepreneurial meetings for the Round Rock Chamber before all the craziness hit. So I'm excited to turn the screen over to him, and he's going to be presenting on pivoting in uncertain times, and we could all use that help now. So don't go anywhere, and I'm going to turn it over to Kevin. So welcome, Kevin. Thank you very much for attending today and joining us.
Thank you, Bill. I really appreciate it. I think that was one of the last in-person meetings that I attended. So
Me too.
it was really good. It was really great to spend time with the chamber, and I love this community. Y'all are so great participating in events like this, helping each other. I think Round Rock is really fantastic. So it's really a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do screen share. So I think I'll take that back from you, Bill, and
Excellent.
got my presentation.
I just stopped sharing. So
You know, I would think after about two and a half months, I would be proficient at Zoom. I'm not. So hopefully, I was even thinking about that as I was going through this presentation. There's a lot of things that typically I'm just accustomed to in person that I'm not sure are going to actually function. I had a moment of panic right at the start of this that some of the technology that I'm using might not work. So appreciate y'all's patience with me, and glad to be doing this. So like Bill said, I'm Kevin Ring, Director of Strategy for Hot Dog Marketing. Y'all can see the slides, right? Okay, this is the other thing I always worry about with screen share. Had to go and hide everything else beforehand. But really what I want to do is just kind of talk about what we're going to talk about. So introduce who I am, why I'm here, and then we're here to talk about pivoting, right? And so pivot is a word that as entrepreneurs is very popular, and is something that I think, because we are all risk takers, something that we all are accustomed to. And so really what I want to do is kind of go through our approach to pivoting as we work with clients to help them understand how they can shift their value and then take that to their market. And then we'll walk through a tool that we've put together. If y'all don't mind, in the chat, if you could just throw up like 1 or 2 words what your industry is or what your business is. I'm going to try and give examples through this because this is typically a tool that we do in person. And by in person, I mean over a computer screen. But this will just help me kind of think of relative examples as we're talking through this. All right. And then the other thing is just please throw up questions in the chat as we go. I think at the end, I'll address them. If I see them, I will make sure to try and answer them as I can. So again, this is the whole not in-person part that I'm not really accustomed to. All right. So who am I? Who is this guy? I'm Kevin Ring, Director of Strategy for Hot Dog Marketing. That means that I lead our client services, business development efforts, and I also lead the strategic portion of our engagements. So what my job really is to help our clients understand and see their circumstances, their business better, and particularly from the perspective of their audience. My background is in consulting. I've worked primarily in strategic market analysis and market research for many years now. That number felt weird typing it in. I have an MBA in strategy, leadership, and entrepreneurship, which when I got it, I didn't really know would be as fruitful as it has been. But those are kind of my passions, helping people figure out the best way to achieve their ideas, to make their ideas happen, and then help them to get there. And you don't get the benefit of this, but I'm really, really tall. In the metric system for the rest of the world, I'm 2 meters tall. Y'all can Google that equivalent. Google has made doing that conversion real easy for you. For those of you who don't know, Hot Dog Marketing, we are an agency, a marketing agency that helps primarily service businesses achieve their growth goals. And it's kind of focused in 4 areas, obviously growth, but also innovation, trying to understand how new services are going to be most effective in going to the market. Also, really companies who've had a lot of success without marketing systems, and so helping them implement marketing capacities that will help drive the next phase of their growth. And then the last thing is really just helping with driving awareness around specific issues and things like that. So COVID-19 being a big one. All right, so why pivot? Why are we having this discussion? Well, you know, I really have been thinking a lot about this and all of the economic turmoil caused by the social and economic challenges and the global events that have been happening. And really, I think in my next slide is a real great representation of all of the factors that really contribute to many of the ways that our businesses are being affected. And so let me just click over here. So for us as a business, I know that, especially in Round Rock, spring break was March 16th through the 21st. And so I went and had planned on all of these things to do with my son because it's his birthday. We were going to celebrate by taking a road trip, and we just slowly had to ratchet it back. And I remember going to work on Monday the 23rd and just being like, what is happening? And by going to work, I mean logging on to this Zoom call. And I've been physically in our office a couple times, but since then, everything has just been flipped upside down. And I think the key thing is that it's not universal. So in past disruptions, there has been a consistent universal application of how the challenges have affected people. And we're not really experiencing that right now. And so what we've identified is that this is both a problematic time for a lot of businesses, having to very quickly adapt to not being able to open doors, to their clients maybe not being able to pay bills or pay rent, supply chains being slowed down or completely stopped. There's just so many different ways that this is impacted. And so my wife works for a playground manufacturer, and their America's office is here in town, and she shared this with me. This is not one of their products, though it is a European company, and their safety standards are far less stringent compared to America. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing this in a couple of years. But really, for us, the role of Pivot in the discussions that we're having is part of this bigger conversation. So Jessica Scanlon, who started this agency 8 years ago, who most of you know, just has a real passion for small business owners. And one of the things that we realize is that we're having these conversations about the impact in the economy and how these business owners are being affected. And so what we did is we put together we just started having these conversations and started recording them, and they've actually been a lot of fun. But it's, this is a concept that has come up. What do business leaders need in terms of what's going on? And so what we've really tried to do is kind of cover these issues. And so we have one that talks about the same issue that will be released in a couple weeks. I'm not in charge of the content calendar, but if you want, feel free to check out our website. Hopefully the resources are helpful. Jessica is very cogent and presents very well, and I'm just happy to be there. So, but really, the key thing is why is this important to you? And everybody knows what's in it for me is really the question that as a presenter I need to answer. So here it is, your pyramid of compelling reasons. Pivoting right now is going to allow you to continue to generate revenue. There are opportunities that have arisen that you probably are in a position to take advantage of. And so this is going to lead to new sales. Now, by doing that, and by focusing on your existing customers and the audience that you have, you're going to increase your account penetration. And so companies who are able to do this successfully are going to come out of this with a deeper relationship with their clients. And that's going to lead to competitive advantage, because you are going to have the opportunity to meet some needs that your competitors aren't able to meet right now. And so this is what we always see in economic slowdowns and other times of disruption, is that leading companies leapfrog the competition by taking advantage and being customer focused to meet the needs that arise in it. But really what I want you to understand is that the key value that you're going to create in this has to do with customer loyalty, right? Because right now, people are struggling and suffering and confused and don't know what's coming and still anticipating more to come. There are going to be waves of repercussions through different industries. And this is an opportunity for you to really position yourself as a trusted advisor, as a valuable resource in your customer base. And customer loyalty is one of the most powerful, intangible aspects of what we as businesses create. And ultimately what that leads to is brand equity. And so the value here and the opportunity here is extremely great. And I want to be clear when I say opportunity, this is not meant to be opportunistic. I do not think that we should be taking advantage of this situation. I really believe that the companies that are part of this organization that really represent who Round Rock is are for the community or for their customers. And so this is really intended to help focus on how you can strengthen that desire that you already have. And so I love, Taffy, your presentation, because that passion comes through, right? Like everyone here is trying to create a business, obviously, because we want it to be sustainable, and revenue enables that, cash flow enables that, but it's so that our passion can scale and the impact can scale. And so Taffy, I really appreciate it. And I really am glad that you were able to do that. All right. So, and for whatever reason, I am afraid to click around, but I can't seem to get the chat window right in front of me. So let me see if I do this. I really am nervous about this. There we go. Perfect. Oh, awesome. There they are. Nonprofit, co-working space, higher ed, nutritional coach, maternity strategy, management and leadership. Okay, perfect. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to focus now on how you find these new opportunities, right? And I just want to orient you to this because you're entrepreneurial. I think that the challenge that we come across most is not that companies don't see the opportunities, it's that they don't know how to prioritize. And so if you're like me, you end up chasing every squirrel that runs through your yard. My wife keeps sending me videos of this family who says that the husband is like a dog penned up during quarantine, and she understands it so much better. Like, face at the window looking for friends walking by. And so I really am like a squirrel when it comes, like a dog when it comes to business opportunity. All right, so how are we going to focus? So first thing I want to do is I want us to think about customer effort. And the reason for this is really based on some research that was culminated in a book that came out a couple years ago called The Effortless Experience. In business, there's this metric called the customer effort score. It kind of builds on customer satisfaction and then net promoter, and then even more valuable is customer effort. It all is focused on the service, the customer service side of a business. And really what it is it's a measure of how difficult it is to work with your company to get whatever the client needs done, right? So the question that you would ask in a survey is how difficult or how easy was it to get resolution through our online portal or whatever it is. And the score is basically the percentage of the people who rate it as difficult. And what it has shown is that 96% of businesses with what would be considered a high customer effort score, so a difficult aspect of their experience for their customers, experience customer churn, right? They lose customers, while only 6% of those who have low customer effort score, who do a really good job of making it easy for their customers, experience churn. And so customer effort is directly correlated to customer loyalty. But the other thing that has been shown is that it's also highly correlated with willingness to purchase. And especially in this time, as we are all spending time online and interacting with brands online and technology and things like that, you really, I think, understand what this implies, right? Like, we all like the video conference system that we like because it's easy to use. Now, I hate Skype, and for those Skype purists out there, I apologize. I'm willing to have my mind changed. But my experience has been nothing but difficult. And Zoom has blown up during this time because of how easy it is to get to the core thing that we need, right? Which is that face-to-face stable connection. And so that's what I think, to help us prioritize, we want to focus on how can we make our customers' lives easy? What can we do to make things less difficult for them, right? And it aligns very well with kind of our core culture in this community as being very for the community and being very customer centric. So the second piece is, okay, where are we going to look? Well, innovation, there's tons of books about it, and I've read some of them. They all seem to repeat themselves, but basically it boils down to this: a combination of either a new solution or a new market or both, right? And so I'm going to take my existing solution to a new market. That's innovation. I'm going to take a new solution to a new market. That's radical information. I'm going to take new solution to my existing market. That's an architectural innovation. Really what we want to do is focus on what we can do to solve a new problem in our existing markets, right? That's where we want to look. It's really straightforward. So this is, for me, the formula for an effective pivot. What pain point are our customers experiencing because of the circumstances? What can we do based on what we currently have to alleviate that? And then how do we promote that in a way that is appropriate, but also creates a sense of urgency, right? That allows people to break their attention out of all of the noise of what's going on to say, hey, I need that relief right now. Let me engage in this. So that's it. What is the new pain point? How can we address that? And then how can we get that in front of them in a way that is compelling for them at this time, right? Because I don't know about you, but I'm having a hard time keeping track of what day it is. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time considering any email that comes in, right? There's just so much noise. I literally last night, I was like, I wish someone would invent something that would help me keep track of what day it is. And then I was like, wait, that's a calendar. Thank you, Greco-Romans. All right, any questions before I move on? I know I'm covering a lot, and this is slightly different than what we normally discuss here. All right, I can't see your faces, so I assume you're all nodding in agreement. All right, so this is how we help our clients walk through this process, right? So our framework is pretty straightforward. It's 5 steps. Who is your customer, right? Who is the ideal customer? The one that if you help, it's going to create the most long-term benefit by investing in that relationship. And then understand them in more than just, oh, it's this kind of business, or, oh, it's that guy over there. And then how do we define the way that they perceive value? And so really not focused on what is the need right now, but really focused on what are they getting and what do they need when they engage with us? And then focusing in on how are they struggling? And then mapping those things, right? Customer value and areas of struggle to what we can do and developing the offering. Pretty straightforward. We've developed this tool. It's really just a set of questions and then this nice little chart in the middle that helps you think through in some very specific ways how you can apply this and what some of the challenges your customers might be thinking. But this tool, I'll throw up the link at the end. And I think this went out with the email too. So this is available to you guys to just help guide your discussions and your focus. What is JTBD? I will explain that in a second. Really encouraged. Thank you, Jan, that you're reading my slides. That's really, really good affirmation. I'm not getting the eye contact thing. So Jan, you're my favorite commenter right now. All right. First step, understand your ideal client. And these are kind of the 3 questions, right? Who is the customer? So how do you describe the business? Because it's easy for a lot of us who are individual operators to have to do all the jobs. But as an organization, as a small business, as you're starting to collaborate and needing to do these things quickly and having a lot of strategic initiatives that are going on at this time, it is really important that we are able to identify who we are going after. So who's the customer? How do we identify them? Geography, revenue, size, number of people. Really just clarify what that is. And then within this, and Taffy, this was, I think, some of the conversation that we were having about CEOs versus HR. Who is the buyer, right? Who is the one who is going to make the decision? And in most organizations, larger organizations, there's usually 3 or 4 buyers, or the single buyer wears 3 or 4 hats. It's the key buyer, right? The champion who really wants the solution and who owns the relationship. There's the economic buyer. So they're the ones who have to pay the bill. They care about cost and contracts and terms. And then there's the user who isn't necessarily, I mean, there's the technical buyer who is evaluating how that solution fits in with everything else, whether that's systems or processes. And then ultimately there's the end user, right? So who is the person who is going to have the day-to-day involvement with you as a solution provider? And for this, what we really want to do is we want to focus. And we want to focus on high value clients. And so by high value, I don't mean high revenue. I mean high utility, ones who we love to work with, are a great fit with our company, and who see our value, right? And that usually is correlated to revenue and spend, but it's important that we remove as much friction from our environment right now as we can, because we don't have time to be spending focused on clients who aren't necessarily the best fit. So really think about it of who's going to have the best long-term relationship with my organization, and then focus on the simplest buyer environment that you can, right? So a lot of us sell into complex environments where there's multiple decision makers, and it's usually reflected to a longer sales time. How do you focus on the person who has the decision making power, but also is going to see the most value, so that you can kind of short circuit some of the effort that it takes to build a relationship? It doesn't mean you can't tailor this towards other environments and other clients, but this is going to help focus you on what is going to be the most effective. Okay, so let me think about an example of this real quick. So nutritional health coaching, right? And so I assume that that works with individual families. And if I'm wrong, I apologize, but nutritional health coaching, I imagine, is a service where you are going in and consulting with the family, the heads of the family, in order to address some of their nutritional concerns. So this feels sexist, but I don't believe that it is. In my household, my wife is primarily in charge of planning. I would say she has executive power over our meals. We definitely share responsibility, but she is much better at the work of planning out for our children and myself what we eat. And so I would say that she is the key. Right now, I'm also a buyer, but I'm a user buyer, because I'm a cook, right? I cook about half our meals, and so as a user buyer, I hate really complex meals. Like, I hate the long steps. I could do a whole presentation on reading recipe websites. Like, I really don't care that your grandfather used to sell leeks out of the back of his car. I really just want simple directions that lead to really exciting flavors. That's what you want to understand, is who are these families, who are these clients, where it's going to be very focused on, okay, the wife or the head, like chief nutrition officer of the family, is the one who's going to decide, is going to buy, is going to do the meal planning, right? And that's who your buyer is. So that would be an example of this. And where that might not be valuable would be families with large amounts of children, right? Because at that point, my son is turning into a teenager and he out eats me. And so economically, now I have different concerns as a buyer than I did when they were younger, and my wife and I could still enjoy good food. So hopefully that gives a little bit of clarity into this step. Okay, JTBD, job to be done. Now, this is a business theory and a way of thinking about business that I really think is valuable. It basically says customers don't buy your service. They hire you, they hire it to help them achieve a goal, right? So in the example of marketing research, right? Marketing research helps provide data, insight, and analytics into strategic questions that companies might have about their marketing efforts, right? Now, people don't buy data. Some people do. I'm not one of those people. My eyes gloss over when I try and read too much information. I just get way overwhelmed by it. Really, what I'm buying is the insight, right? Who do I need to reach out? Who is going to be my best customer? Where can I find them? How do I engage them? What are the considerations that I need to think about in terms of how they currently live their lives and how they evaluate my process, right? How they evaluate my service. So what my goal is ultimately is to find better customers, right? And to have that lead to sales, right? Converting customers, prospects into customers is my goal. And so I buy marketing research to help me in that process, but I do a lot of other things within that, right? And so the key here is to understand that you fit within a chain of activities, and that the value that they get out of yours, right, how it flows towards that ultimate goal is different than typically what we think about when we think about the transaction. So let me see if I can. Ooh, IT consulting. IT consulting is another one, right? IT consulting, right? Web app software development. People aren't buying your cool, I envision like hackers, you know, the screens go and your keys, the hands flying the keyboard. They're not buying that. They're not buying your technical expertise. What they are buying is an inability for them to get from their idea to reality. And so you are the shepherd of that process for them. It has nothing to do, I mean, it has to do with your expertise. It has to do with specifically how you approach your work. But ultimately what they're thinking about is, do I have confidence that this person can understand my dream and turn it into a reality, or understand my need and help alleviate it through technology? And so that's job to be done, right? And typically the job to be done is we're going to make some aspect of our client's life better. And if you don't believe me, think about this. This is the Wikipedia page for Tylenol. I don't think anyone here has ever read it. If you have, throw your name up in the comments, because I would like to talk to you, because you have some really interesting hobbies. No one thinks about Tylenol, and Tylenol has two Wikipedia pages. It has the brand page and it has the medical like product page. What people do is they grab Tylenol when they have a headache, right? So what is the headache that we're solving? Third step, identify the areas of the struggle. And this is where you're just going to have to be creative, right? You understand that you're doing a job within a set of jobs to get to that goal. And so the concept here that we're called value chain, it's really the step-by-step flow of activities and resources that go from concept to product to service, right? And so in the worksheet, what we've done here is just to help you think, okay, my client is doing these jobs. How are they being disrupted, right? I lost the chat page again. There we go. Okay, so higher education. Higher education is a great one, right? Okay, so higher education starts with sort of the design. We need to build curriculum. We need to build the physical spaces. All right, we need to get the building. We need to have the chairs, the inventory. Okay, assembly, we're going to put together the curriculum. We're going to hire the teachers. We're going to get the books ordered. We're going to have everything assembled so that students can come to class. All right, and we have this building. We have a schedule for them to come to class. We organize the schedule so multiple classes can be delivered throughout the week, morning to late at night, so that we can maximize the number of curriculums and degrees that our students can go through. And then we're going to have registration, right? So we need to start the process when kids are juniors, of getting in front of them so that they really have a preference and understand, okay, from a career perspective, a school brand perspective, this is who we want. And even higher education, like how can my program help you as a business executive get to your goals in terms of career? And then what's the experience going to be like? You're coming into nighttime classes if you are working throughout the day. And how are we really maximizing your desire to get to the goal? That's the value chain, right? Soup to nuts, this is building the business. So in higher education, right, and that I took that really macro, so that's everything, is being so disrupted right now. Physically, people have not been allowed to go to campus. School year's over, but the shift to online, the concerns about just all of the sub industries in higher domain. I have a colleague, a friend who works in campus housing, and it's crazy the things that their business is having to discuss and go through in terms of are the buildings going to open next fall? We have these contracts that you are trying to decide whether or not you're going to let students back in. COVID-19 has really thrown multiple monkey wrenches into multiple gears for businesses. And so starting here, how do we really focus in and say, okay, what is now more difficult in terms of how they do business? And I think the key thing here is we want to really dig deep. And so in the tool, you'll see we've got a couple ideas about ways that COVID-19 has affected our society with physical distancing requirements, we have travel restrictions, the economic uncertainty, access to financial resources, the workforce in terms of layoffs, or even concerns that people have about working back at your business, the digital alternatives to working at home. Just a way for you to go through and say, okay, here's how things are really difficult and the most difficult for our clients right now. And I just want to give you a pro tip here. Don't just dig deep, but kind of go ridiculous. And as an inspiration, I just wanted to show you someone who's really good at this. So let's learn from the masters. I love infomercials because they do this so well. Oh, I can't drink that glass of milk. Oh no. Tacos for all of our Texans. This is my favorite part of preparing for this, was I just got to do research on infomercial. Let me touch this spaghetti. Oh no. Ow, this one's my favorite. Okay, so here we have the pain points, right? We know where people are struggling. We've identified the top ways that we think that they're disrupted. Now let's map this to what we can do to alleviate that. So think about it in terms of all of your resources. What expertise, what capital, what capacity, what systems, what can your people do? What can your network do? Don't focus just on the traditional definition of your business, but really think about all of the things that you have available to you. And then how can you help? And this is the chance to really be creative. And I will tell you, your customers don't know this answer, right? They don't have time to answer this for you. So this is where the value is created in the relationship, is you are being proactively empathetic and you're being proactively solution oriented. Something that this group does really well, and then using that to help and anticipate ways to make your customers better. And I always imagine this part of the process to be like one of my favorite scenes in one of my favorite movies, Three Amigos. Hopefully y'all can hear this.
We want to defend ourselves, but how?
Nod if you can hear that.
By using the skills and the talents of the people of Santa Poco. This is not a town of weaklings. You can turn your skills against a woman. Now, what is is it that this town really does well?
We can sew.
There you go. You can sew.
Ah,
If only we had known this earlier.
we want to defend ourselves. But how?
I always want the customer to say that. It's like, okay, what can we do? What, you know, we're going through this workshop. All right, what can we do to help? We can sew. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. So someday, hopefully soon. All right, so you know what the problem is. You know who your customer is. You know what their problem is. You have an idea as how you can help. You are obviously really good at this. And so you've come up with multiple solutions. So prioritize it based on what is going to be easiest for you to execute and how are you going to be able to do that quickly, right? Because we're 2+ months in the work at home here in Round Rock, and things are different week to week. And so we really don't want to just appear to be irrelevant by being slow. And so the focus here is to come up with something simple, relevant, but also compelling and with a sense of urgency, right? And so one of the best ways to do this is an expiring offer. So really, you know, what you would do is you'd think through, okay, what is the solution? What is the product? This is fun for me because they teach everybody about the 4 Ps, but then you never talk about it again. I feel like it's like trigonometry for me in high school math. You talk about the product, you figure out what price point is going to be respectful but appropriate, right? And then how are we going to get this to the target buyer, right? What is the place? How are we going to deliver it? What does that look like? And so let me pull my chat screen back up. So for example, oh man. Mid-level management leadership skill for women in technology. Okay, so I assume that that is something that historically you've done in person, right? So this is not a hard one to answer. Webinars, right? Very simple tool to set up, very easy to operationally execute on, really easy to get the information out to your clients. The tools exist. That one's sort of an easy one. I did read, where did it go? Mental health and substance abuse. Oh man, that one is much more challenging because you have a key relational element, I think, and an in-person aspect of the behavioral side of it, I imagine. But then you also have a lot of privacy concerns. And so that one I think would take a little bit more brainstorming. But once you've kind of, okay, what are we offering? How much are we going to charge for it? How will we get them to it? How will we deliver it? And then really, what is the offering? You want to make it compelling and urgent, right? So it breaks through the noise, but also that it's a call to action, because it's so easy to forget day to day what happened yesterday. And so don't expect your customers to sleep on this offer. You need to stay appropriately in front of them. All right. Now, this is the tool, right? It's a process, but you know, in about an hour or two of good conversation, you can kind of work through this whole thing and really focus on, hey, this is the opportunity for us to really help out. And I want to point out 2 things, right? I even tend to think, okay, my service has been disrupted, so I'm pivoting because I have to. That's not the only reason why we would do this. This is an opportunity that we have, even if your service isn't being disrupted right now, there's an opportunity that you have to add additional value, right? And again, it's not trying to be opportunistic. It's just trying to build off of the value that you already are committed to delivering for your clients. So really, in summary, that's the process, right? This is what you want to do. It's focus on your ideal client, figure out the job to be done, identify how they're struggling, you know, what is their infomercial actor moment, map that problem to a solution that you can deliver, and then turn that into a simple, compelling, and timely offer. Really what I want to leave you with is this: the business that finds a creative way to make their customer lives better, what you're going to do is develop those revenue streams, right? This is obviously a short-term, medium-term opportunity to drive growth, but really the value is the customer loyalty. People remember, they remember the good experiences. They remember the companies that come alongside them in times that are difficult. And so just to give you a quick example, my child's pediatrician was great. His name was Dr. App. He's a nice guy. My son actually, when he was 2 years old, the doctor walked into the room and he looks up at him and he goes, "I love you." And I've never seen a grown man like just emotionally and physically freeze and kind of shut down. He was like, "This is not what I was expecting today." He's like almost to the verge of tears. I have no idea why my son did it, but their office was amazing. So my son had to do a procedure. So a couple months later, we get this card and every person in the office had signed it, of just like, "Hey, really thinking about you guys. Hope he's doing well." I mean, everything was fine. And I was just like, that, I will never forget Dr. App. Like we're not his customer anymore. And I kind of like wish that we could be, because his job is to care for the physical health of my son, right? That's the job that he does, the actual delivery. But for my son and for me, like he knows that my job is to see my son grow up to be a healthy adult, and he was invested in that, and I love it. I mean, I'm a fan for life, even if I can't be a customer. And so how are we going to use this opportunity to focus on that? Let me pull back up the questions. I apologize not being able to track them very well.
Yeah, I don't know if there were a lot of questions that came in. I sort of just
Yeah.
threw a comment out there of, what you sort of talked about, which was you got to be thinking about webinars, video, different ways to connect with your customer, because if you can't meet with them in person, you've got to break through that barrier somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really is. I mean, I just think about, like, for me, that's what I want right now. Like I feel like everybody's carrying the burden of what's going on. Jan, I see your question about getting the worksheet. That link right there will take you to it. Simple download.
And Lauren left it in the group chat right at the bottom. So anybody who clicks on it should have access to it. Yeah. So excellent.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your time. This has been really fun. This is such a great organization, and I really, Bill, appreciate it. I'm so happy to work with 1
How do
Million
people
Cups.
reach you? Is it kevin@hotdogmarketing.net or?
I'll type it in here. It's Kevin at hotdogpr.com.
Oh, hotdogpr.com. I remembered you guys had two different sort of domains.
I sent that to Jan. Yeah, feel free to reach out. Would love to see what you're doing and how we can help. I am not a good typer and talker.
Well, we appreciate you you coming on today and presenting. Thank you very much. Virtual clap from everyone. And I'm going to go back to my screen share. Let's see if we can get that going and move on to the next slide. So as we, thank you very much, Kevin, again, really appreciate that. That was a great overview and breakdown of how to sort of pivot in the world we're living in today. And I know that we've done a couple of those things here internally ourselves. And we're lucky enough that we're in a business that people do need our services right now, as well as yours, being in the same type of business. So it's we certainly love helping people out as well, and look forward to continuing to connect with the 1 Million Cups community in Round Rock, and also any of the chamber members. So I've got a slide up now. appreciate you joining us today. For those of you who are pulling through the whole meeting, we are still working on our July and August events. And Taffy had asked us earlier, are we going to continue to be virtual? We're unsure. We're still working with the Holiday Inn and obviously looking at county and city precautions on how we could meet in person. I don't see us deviating from the Holiday Inn when we do get back together. So if it isn't in July, we will obviously communicate through the chamber newsletter, which comes out every Monday. And whether if we have any updates, I'm sure we can include that in the chamber newsletter. We also have the 1 Million Cups email list that has a good 550 people on it. So if you're on that list, we will communicate through that. So look for any updates there for July and August. And if you want to apply to present, you could do that through the website, which is the 1 Million Cups /Round Rock. And we've had some great presenters locally. We've had some great presenters that have come in from out of town. Always good to have local companies come in and present. Obviously, the ability to connect on a much closer level and sort of a deeper level with a local company is always inspiring. So you could do that by going to 1millioncups.com Round Rock, and always continue to stay connected with us. So I believe, Lauren, this was streamed on Facebook, so anybody who did miss it can go back and check it out once we're done streaming, and I believe it should be uploaded. Connect with us on Twitter, #1MCRR, and that is the final, I guess, slide of our presentation today. Again, thank you everybody for showing up today. Lauren, I'm not sure if you have any parting comments, but if not, we'll see everybody on the next meeting or in person at the next event. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.